It's Kringle time. Sit back, relax. It's time to dive into a world of laughter and learning with the Kringle brothers, reminding us that we are better together.
Hey, everybody. Oh, welcome to Kringle time. I'm one of your hosts, Michael, and my partner is
Michael.
AK. I love that you put AK Herbie on your screen.
Well, because most people in our community know me as Herbie.
Well, you know what? I almost wish I would have recorded the countdown. Watching your dance moves in the green room was hysterical.
It's great music. I mean, I trust me, the people we have on there right now, like Nate and Bill Coates and Big Red Santa, go Bill, go Bob, and then Bill Garbett and Santa Dave Denby and Zinga Man, Mary.
Hey, you guys, welcome. We're so glad that you're here.
Oh, we are definitely happy. So, Michael, are you having a good week so far?
You know what? Yeah, it's like one of those, I don't want to do the old man stuff. It's like, because Linda just had her, her hip replaced. She's starting to move around again, and therapist is coming in, and we're doing all of that. And tomorrow I take her down, for therapy again. But I've been in tons of pain. But whatever. I went to see the orthopedic surgeon. So I'm scheduled for a knee replacement. I know Bob, Big Red has talked to me about this a little bit because his wife had a knee replaced. And so my doctor goes, when do you want it? December 26th. So he did schedule for the 26th, but I'm scheduled for Monday the 30th. So he promised that he would help me get through the season and the best of his ability, and then we'll take care of it then. So yeah.
But I know everybody in our community will be praying for you, so everything you get healthy really quickly, because we have so many big things coming up that we just have to have you part of it.
So why don't you share a little bit? Why don't you tell everybody kind of things where, tentatively things that are going on? We got, because we'll be teaching in September, and then we've got some stuff 6 weeks after the knee surgery.
We're going to be in the Washington State area at the end of September. We're going to have a 2-day conference with the Santas up there in Norpac, right?
Norpac. Yep.
Norpac. That's going to be so much fun. That's one of the places I've never been to, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, and you're going to love it. I motorcycled down US 2 all the way to Washington State. You're going to love it. That was a great motorcycle. 2 weeks on the road on the motorcycle. But all right, we're not here to talk about my motorcycle days. But
that just hurts my my legs just thinking about that.
Oh, it was a great trip.
Sorry.
So we'll be with the Norpacs, and then
in February we have Super Santa Sunday, which is in Virginia Beach.
This is going to be,
of course, it's over Super Bowl weekend. No,
well, they're going to have a Super Bowl party.
I know. So hopefully the Lions are even playing. We can watch it from Virginia.
Oh my gosh, would that not be? That would be phenomenal.
Yes,
at least for me. You know what I mean? It would be. There's probably some people watching that wouldn't
care.
Yeah, but yeah, it would.
Then what else? After that, it's a possibility of going to Minnesota. And then we have the comeback master class in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
And then, we also forgot too, after September of 2024, you and I will be at Charles W. Howard.
Well, that will be this year also. We'll be sharing there in Midland, which will be awesome. I love doing that.
I do too. And what's going to make it fun this year, even more fun than just us just being crazy and having a good time, is Bill Dendy is hosting the first Midland Santa Expo. Which is going to be a blast because he has different vendors coming in, and all the vendors will be in one place rather than just being in like little hotel rooms. Yeah, they actually have the convention area in there too. So that's going to be a wonderful time. So
I know Roger with Kringle Tracker, he's talked to Bill, and he's going to have a spot there.
And Jessica Rosa's going to be there, and I know
and Stephanie with photos, so you could literally, bring your suit, get some high quality professional portrait shots and stuff for advertisement. It'll be awesome.
And then I know Jessica Rosa's going to be there, and she's going to be doing some video application. So we got our Pennsylvania brother Mike Connors in, and Sandy Garland, and Hugh Radloff, and Gary Linder. and Santa Kevin from Midland. But just remember, with that Super Santa Expo, or let's just call it the Santa Expo of Midland, you
Vendor
don't have
Expo
to.
Midland, yeah,
You
CW
don't.
Expo. I don't know.
Because they're not can't be affiliated with the school. You know the rules.
Yeah,
But just remember, you don't have to be a student to actually go ahead and participate in the expo. So even if you just want to come up and check everything out, it'll be a wonderful time. But we'll keep reminding you because
and we'll be at the Holiday Inn in Midland, and you
yes,
know what? If you're there, meet us in the restaurant. There's a restaurant in the Holiday
oh
Inn,
yeah,
wonderful
Mike,
restaurant for breakfast. Meet us and let's have breakfast together.
yeah, the Kringle brothers will go live a few times. We want to talk to everybody
Oh, we
because
should
you know
do that.
what? You
Yeah.
know why? We love all of you, and we just want to actually share your experiences, our experiences with so many other people.
You know, I
But
hear
you
so
know
many
what?
great stories from
Oh,
Santa.
we do, and you know what? I learned so much from other people that it's amazing. It is truly amazing how much you can learn by just listening.
Yes.
Oh, and so, but today's episode is
Number 9. Can you believe this
number.
is our 9th
I know,
episode?
and we're having so much fun. Well, I mean, so far, which been your favorite episode?
Oh, that's like asking me which my favorite reindeer is because I love them all, but each one for a special, different reason, you know. So I can't give you one. I can just say I love them all. You know, they're all special to me.
Well, I feel the same way. It just, but you know what's fun is just having the ability to. Yes, Charlie, my hair is alive. No, I do have a fan going. That's why my hair kind of looks like it's like a big tribble.
It's a little humid here in Michigan. A little bit. Situational awareness. Charlie just did a great example lead in for what we
Exactly.
want to talk about tonight. Situational awareness. Way to
Right.
go, Charlie.
That's what Charlie basically, it's Charlie's way of putting us back on track.
Oh, and Jerry's in, and Bruce is in now, and Paul is in. And
we have
Sandy, she threw the first pitch out for one of the baseball teams in Michigan.
And
I was so proud of her.
She looked so good doing it. I know Santa Mel was supposed to be throwing out a first pitch too.
She did for there's a minor
Battle
league
Creek
in Battle Creek.
Yeah. And then I threw out the first pitch for the Tigers.
That was awesome.
That was a lot of fun. But you know what made it even fun? We had some brothers and sisters in the stands that actually I got to say hello to during our little picture time. So it was always wonderful to be able to see everybody and share each and every.
All right. Well, let me get on. Help us to get on task a little.
Well,
Michael, go ahead and tell us what is situational awareness. So we're all on the same page together. I know you wrote up a wonderful definition of it.
Well, yeah. Situational awareness is the perception of the environment elements, the comprehension of their meaning, and the projection of their future status. And basically, what I'm just trying to talk about, because that's way too many big words, is knowing what's happening around you, understanding its implications, and anticipating what may happen next.
And what to do.
Most people would look at us and go, why would this be important to a Christmas performer? Michael, why would this be important to you?
Well, you know what? I look at it like when I'm teaching, it's classroom management. In other words, you prep for, let's say, hypothetically, I'm going to do a Santa visit, or I've got a Santa show, and that show's 30 minutes or 45 minutes. I don't prep for 45 minutes. I literally prep for 70 or 80 minutes. And then I get to different places where I'm feeding back from the audience, getting a glimpse for what's going on in the audience. What am I saying? Is it working or isn't it working? And then having the flexibility of going, this isn't working right now, and then being able to change it. But it's larger in that, because I know that, like, when I'm sitting in the chair, hopefully I articulate this, correctly. Santa's the focus point. But for us Santas, we don't want to be the focus point. We want the children to be the focus point, or who I'm talking to. So I think of it kind of like I'm reflecting all of this focus, and I want to bring it into the child, because I want to have that one-on-one with the child. But I also want to be completely aware of how fast the line's going at, what's happening in the line, conversations, and you can hear all those, just being aware of it, but making sure my focus is still with the child. So yeah, I'll save my example a little bit later, but and so does that help? Am I getting
It,
it across a little
it,
bit?
it does. I mean, because basically what you're doing is you're paying attention to your surroundings, but not just from the perspective of the performance value. How about safety? With being
Oh,
aware of what's around you, how does that affect safety? Because I know I have a perfect example of this.
all right, go
And
ahead, share it.
well, one of the examples was when my Mrs. Claus and I first did our first parade. We got to the parade float really early because that's what they told us to do, even though we had to wait for 3 hours before the parade started.
Three. Wow.
3 hours. But I started walking around the parade float and I noticed that in the little the little handles that they had up, there were a lot of screws that weren't flush that were sticking out. And
Ooh.
we were actually informed that we'll have children riding the float with us as well. So by taking the opportunity to survey the area, look at the stage area, and noticing these, I was able to basically give warnings or direction to the other people on the float to
Mhm.
prevent any mishaps. Nobody wants to be hurt. Nobody wants to have blame Santa for getting cut or anything like that. But
No.
nor do you, based upon our conversations we had last week about suits. There's a lot of money. You don't want to have those things
You
torn or anything
catch
else.
and rip it, and yeah, that'd be horrid. Yeah,
But
that'd
the other
be
but the
horrid.
other thing, and you and I have discussed this because we're both students of Steve Gillum and Murphy's Law, where by having situational awareness, you're always prepared because no matter what, something is going to go wrong.
Yeah, and isn't
And
it the better you're prepared is like nothing goes wrong,
right.
but if you're not prepared, then guess what? It'll go wrong, I
Well,
mean,
a good example, how many sound systems do you have that you actually take to a gig? I mean, you just told me when that happened.
well, yeah, I have two. I have microphone. This happened Saturday at the gig. I mean, I put my headphone on to do the show at the park, and not sure if the wire or the connection, and even the kids go, Santa, is that all right? I'm like, not a problem. I take it off, I reach back into my bag, and I have a backup, and I just put the back on, and just instead of freaking out over something that takes place, you just let it be natural and real, and then fix it. Yeah, so I
Well,
put the next headphone on, and off we went.
but another thing too is like you mentioned about the crowd, and I do agree with you where you by able to pay attention. Ted Flynn tells one of the best stories about being aware of your environment when he was actually working a gig and a family approached him, and he referred to an older child
Oh
who was in high
yeah.
school. Oh well, hello. Well, just call him Sammy. You know, you really need, if you want to make number one singles in tennis, you really need to work on your backhand. And the mother approached Ted going, "Who are you? And how do you know this about my child?" And Ted was like, "I'm Santa." And she's like, "No, who are you?" He's like, "Well, where's the manager?" And she went, long story short,
Well, because it just really frustrated her. It's
right.
like, this guy's got information on my child, and how dare he? But tell him the cues. He was situational awareness. He had a
Again, though,
varsity jacket on.
well, then that's what it is. When Ted finally pulled the woman off to the side, he said, "Excuse me. All I did was read." And she goes, "What do you mean?" "Well, your child was wearing a varsity jacket that had his name of Sammy. On the sleeve was the patch that he played tennis. That's where he got his letter from. By noticing the year he was going to graduate, as a former tennis coach, any child on this age does not have a fully developed backhand. And everybody wants to be number one. Therefore, I just put two and two together and did that. But by being aware of the surrounding area
Yeah,
and understanding what's there are so many tips, tricks, and information that can be assessed.
yeah,
And Bruce Nord actually made a really good point too. Is by also noticing in line, you can actually then measure the next child's apprehension,
yep. That's right.
or if they're on the spectrum for any need itself, whether it be autistic or anything along those lines, because you're fully aware. Now I know there was another incident that happened to me with situational awareness where I was working Great Wolf Lodge, and where they actually had the Santa chair on the stage. There's two openings that extend down to the hallways where the rooms are. Well, the children were sitting on the other side of that, which made a clear path for children to come right up to Santa. Well, this one young lady, very lovely young lady, special needs, came running down the hallway when I started showing about my reindeer and nearly tackled me. And if it wasn't because I knew that was there, Santa would have been taken out in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So, but what are some of the things that happened to you, Michael?
Well, situations. A couple of the things is using all your senses to be the best Santa that you possibly can. So, in other words, smell isn't even in there. You got a child coming up going, "Wait a second, Mom, I don't want that baby to sit on my lap." You know what I mean? I'll tell you what. I think he might need his diaper changed, but I'll save this spot in line for you. So why don't you go fix that problem, and then you can come right back here. So, in other words, I just saved a lot of problems by using my sense to smell a little bit and then taking a lick to see the back of that diaper and how big the bulb is sticking out, kind of thing, right? And so situational awareness being that way. In other words, another thing that I'll do is if things aren't moving necessarily real quick, or the audience that I have in line, waiting to see me at the lodge, because my first hour at the lodge is I call it like mall work, where I'm in a chair and I'm doing just like a lot of guys with malls and listening to the childs and getting pictures and all of that, right? If the crowd seems to be antsy, and you can feel that in the atmosphere a little bit, I'll literally stand up, look at my watch, going, "Oh my, do you see what time it is? Well, my elves are going to sing a song, Rudolph, tonight at this time. Would you like to, everybody, let's sing a song together." You know what I mean? With the elves. And I take my watch and I'm acting like I'm counting it down, time 3, 2, and I'll break into song and I'll get everyone in line singing that song. So I'm not only am I listening to the one, I'm stopping for a period of 2 or 3 minutes at the most and getting the entire line entertained. And then I go right back to it. And you can feel it, the atmosphere in the room, where it just calms right down. All of the people and the moms and the dads that were all waiting in line, now they've been something special for them. And I'm back to doing the one-on-one with a child and listening to their dreams. So that's feeling out the room. And the other advantage to that one is I just stood up and I stretched and I got to vocalize a little bit and use, my diaphragm. And so it was a relief to me also, because I can feel tension, as you're sitting in that chair also, so.
Well, I mean, you make a good point, especially when dealing with large crowds of that nature, whether it be mall work or working at a theme park or even working large corporate parties with a lot of children, that when you have to actually manage a line, one, it's always good to have an assistant, whether it be another Christmas performer, whether it be the Grinch and Elf, Mrs. Claus, or anyone that possibly can, but distractions. And by you trying to get everybody in the line to sing, it's a distraction, because then they forget of the wait.
Yeah.
And they can actually focus and have a good time. But
Yeah.
one of the key things too is, and there's another fun story with the Santa that we talked to, is elemental issues. And what I mean by that is weather.
Oh yeah.
What I mean, another one that Ted loves to tell is, let there be fish.
Oh, that's a fun one.
And again, though, he was working a fishing event out in California. It rained all day up until the time of the event. Then all of a sudden it stopped. As they started getting on with the fishing derby, they realized there were no fish in the pond. Then all of a sudden, as a camera crew was filming the event, out of camera's view, there was a truck that just pulled in to actually stock the pond. So immediately, Santa went, "Let there be fish." And next thing you know, fish are jumping out of the water. So again, you can take an opportunity to that something may not be going as according to plan, but by realizing your environment, your area, you can actually make things happen, which not only will make you appear a perfect Christmas performer, but your host will actually love the idea that you were actually to take something that wasn't quite up to specs.
Yep.
And do something with it, therefore
Well,
increasing your chance to come back. Now, we have a couple. Santa Kevin, yes, we use the dance button.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
the 30-second
the
dance
dance
button.
party, 30-second dance
Yep.
party. Yes, I love that. Well, that's back to yesterday's with, I don't know, did I talk about child psychology a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
4-year-old. Yeah, but well, it's Kevin's thing, but yeah, 5-minute retention. That's it. So you need then to get them up and doing something every 5 minutes. But that's in a show. That's in the show setting. But situational awareness will save you. The better you're prepped, over prepped in one component, you can then become extremely flexible. So you don't prep to be rigid, going, it has to be this way. You become prepped so that way in any situation and circumstances, you can flow with it. And then that way you're creating an environment of magic and joy and love, and safety for you. I want to, a lot of times I think we talk about, what we do for children and for families and for clients, and but situational awareness saves you, like learning, where are my hands in this picture, where's my body positioning, and what am I touching and moving. So being when the child comes and different things of that way, being aware, will save you a lot of headache also.
And again, though, I mean, from developing situational awareness, you want to observe your surroundings regularly, understand and anticipate the audience behavior, and always prepare for the unexpected scenario. Didn't you tell me one time, was it at the lodge that you were working, that you wanted a prop and the prop wasn't working?
Oh, I've had that happen more than once. Which malfunction? Oh, should we do the snowman prop? That was a great comeback.
That was a good one.
I got this from Roy Stone, building the magical snowman, right? So you have the magic prop, and then you drop the pieces of the snowman in, and the kids were calling out, well, which one's first, and that, and of course, there's a trick to it, which means the head of the snowman is there and it's held by a magnet, and you put that last one in, and then you have to pull it out just so, right, and then of course it's wrong, and then you go through all the banter with it. Well, I pulled it out in my hyperness and just learning the trick. I pulled it out too fast, and there were both heads. The snowman, I pulled it out, the battery came, the magnet came, and there were two heads there, and I went, well, you know what they say, two heads are better than one. And then I put the magic trick away, and off we go to the next part of the story.
Well, again, though, the other thing too is, like last year, since we were utilizing the elves and you had the fairy dust and teaching Orville to fly.
Oh,
now
yeah, that's
this
a situational awareness.
Go ahead and tell that one.
All right. Well, that one was the fairy demonstrating red fairy dust, and then my elf, I've named him Orville. Orville is the one who helped me getting flight, and it's just based on the zombie routine trick. And so you put the cloth over him, and he's elevating, and of course I'm moving him around. The kids are all, and you can make him pop his head up over the cloth. Oh, I love doing that, right? Well, I'm 6 foot, so I had my arms completely extended up like this, right, all the way up height. So now we're looking at 7, close to 8 feet, right? Almost 8 feet. And I accidentally turned my wrist, so my elf fell off of the gimmick that was holding him up. And so the kids watched my elf fall 7.5 feet. Woo! Their eyes were huge. Oh my!
You killed an elf.
There was a gasp in the audience. So I immediately reached down, picked him up, put him on my Showtime table, and did CPR on him and brought him back to life. And the crowd applaud. I think that they thought it was part of the thing, Orville, are you all right? That was a little bit too much red fairy dust right now. And so, but situational awareness, but crowd, one of the things I'll throw out, in the midst of that, when you're in a larger crowd, you'll always see children misbehaving a little bit, right? And some of the best thing you can do is to make sure that you're not rigid where you stand. I literally will walk up to that child, and while I'm doing the show and talking the story, just walk up to my presence and then tell the story and make the audience, they just follow you with their eyes. You're in charge, right? And so as I'm sitting there, then I just put my body next to the child who's messing up, which then means all the eyes of the audience are looking at me. and they're also seeing that child. And a lot, it doesn't, there's not black and white rules to everything, but the majority of the time that child will calm right down, and your body language for you, then you just took care of a difficult situation in front of the show.
See, all these fun tips that you cannot get anywhere else. So,
Now,
Michael, do you think we should go into the dad joke right now?
oh, that would be good. Let me bring that up. Tonight's dad joke is wonderful. And just to let you know, last week some people texted me and said, where was the dad joke? I had it at the end of the show, so I apologize to that, and thank you, Michael, for helping me get it in a little bit quicker. So here we go.
How can you tell if a joke is a dad joke? Because it's apparent.
Thank you, Santa Charlie. And by the way, if you have a dad joke, we would love to make it part of the show. So please send us your video, if you would, to kringlebrothers2@gmail. Do me a favor, though, when you record it, don't record it this way. This is a tic-tac recording. That's not, I need you to record it horizontal this way.
This is bad. This is good.
Well, they're
Bad,
both not bad and good. It's not a black and white thing. This makes the job a lot easier on me. So if you could record it this direction, horizontal, and send that to kringlebrothers2@gmail.com. We'll put it in the rotation and we'll get it on, and we can all laugh along with you, because you know what? Laughter is like a medicine. It's good for the heart.
Oh, yeah. Now, we actually had, why we're doing all this, we've been talking about safety, but one of the things I think we're both forgetting when it comes to situational awareness is not just worrying about safety of our guests or the children, but as Stacy Dotson, viewer, pointed out here, you also have to take great care and be aware of your own needs. Is your sugar dropping? When's the last time you ate? Are you cool enough? Because if you can't maintain a level of comfort, then your performance is going to actually start to dip. And you always want to be at your peak performance, because everybody's there. So, and again, Mike Connor ended up posting another item as to, well, he was doing a mall seat last year when the photo computer went down. And he found out that it was going to take about 15 minutes to reboot the computer. So he got all the kids out of line after the parents remembered who was in front of him, because remember, you never want to get a line jumper. And then he had all the children sit down in front of him, and he read The Night Before Christmas. And since he had 2 copies of the book in his bag, he got an older child to hold a copy of the book and turn the pages as he read. And by the time he was finished, the computer was back up. Again, by simply using a distraction, basically negated the long wait that people would have in line, just saying, how much longer?
That's right. Are we there yet? Yeah.
Be creative. Don't just think, you just have to sit there and do absolutely nothing. Have fun.
Yeah. And if it's a new vignette, I like, if I can, and like anything else, there's nothing in life is absolute, right? But if I can, I love going to see the environment that I'm going to be at before I have to do the gig. So that way I can get a glimpse of the room. I can see potentials, where things that might be difficult. And I'll ask who's ever having me come in saying, well, what direction are the lines going to go? And is who's going to help me? And do I have anybody coming in? So getting some of those things, visiting the room, taking a look at it. If I can talk to the elves that are going to be working for me beforehand, because then I can give them a thing to look at. So like when I'm doing the show, I can tell my elves, now, if you see a child start to stand up, I want you to watch them close. If they're making a move towards me, you just gently take them and then you can slide them away. So in other words, I'll prep my elves on my expectations of them, so that way they can help me be the best Santa that I can be with as less distractions as possible.
But you bring up a good point, and also Carol Baker Claus came up with a good point too. Is again, when regarding safety and situational awareness, there's many times where Mrs. Claus may go out as being a solo performer or working with a new Santa every week, or there are some instances as a Christmas performer that you're being asked to do adult centric parties, and
Yeah.
a lot of times you also have to pay attention to the environment and make sure that you don't get put into a compromising situation, whether it be unnecessary groping or inappropriate pictures, because again, your reputation is only as strong as what is actually being a picture is more than 1,000 words. So you do want to make sure that you maintain your reputation as being a Christmas performer, and don't bring down the suit, the Mrs. Claus, or the elf itself. But at the same time, too, is don't think that you have to do something. If you don't feel safe doing it, if you don't feel comfortable doing it,
Yeah.
talk to the person who hired you and understand it. And again, this is another aspect of situational awareness is communication, because you have to be able to understand what the client wants. And if the client isn't actually coming forth right with the information, then you should actually be a little bit more cautious as to what's be expected of you. And
Right.
if they don't take any action, if you do have, again, this has never happened to me before, but if you're doing an adult party where there's alcoholic beverages and you see a person trying to take advantage of, whether it be a Mrs. Claus that you're working with, or even as a Santa or as an elf, step in
Yeah.
and say something. And if the person doesn't do anything, then by all rights, don't think you have to subject yourself to that. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
You're
That's
you're,
right.
you're a person at the core. Lead.
Well, yeah. And I know, like, since I work, at the lodge, we work at the lodge. One of the things that I've asked my manager, going, are there emergency procedures? In other
Oh,
words, if something happens, and let's, God forbid, I don't want anything to happen, but guess what? If all eyes are on me, then I'm really the person to articulate, going, would you please just stand up and very calmly, let's go off to this exit, go to the following spot. And a lot of the larger corporations and buildings will have numbers on doors for fire department and that kind of stuff. So asking beforehand, are there emergency situations? Like, and then at the lodge, they have codes that will come across the internet, like there's a child missing. They just don't go, there's a child missing. They have codes that they'll announce. So all of a sudden, I heard that, right? That, all right, there's a child missing, or there's a parent that's not with this child and they have it. So then, because a lot of times the children will be coming to me, I might be the spot where that child's missing at, because they want to come and see Santa. So knowing some of those codes and procedures of emergency and what happens into the building and place. Now I realize on a home visit, it's not going to be there. Like I said, there's situation you prep for what you can do, and it doesn't apply to everything across the board. But in larger corporate settings and group settings, finding those procedures from the managers is a smart move.
Now, Boris also indicated too that he likes to scan his environment before he puts on any of his mascots. For those that don't know, Boris actually not only does a Christmas performer
Santa,
avenue, Santa, he also is a variety of other different mascots, such as Bluey.
like Bluey, yeah.
And Bluey's awesome, and a few other things as that too. So again, though, is you do want to make sure your environment is there.
Yep.
Russell Hurd made a comment that make sure that your agent or whoever you are negotiating with, it is clear on what the expectations are. I've gone to a gig thinking it was for children and end up being for an adult party.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
as always maintain your professionalism. And
Always.
then the big red Santa Bob. Also, watch out for social media crazies and their videographers who want to get controversial footage. So
Yeah.
again, as Michael
That's a
put
good
out,
word, Bob. Thank you. Yeah.
as Michael pointed out earlier, just having a conscious awareness of where your hand placement is. I know for me, and I don't know about you, Michael, but one of the things I started doing is asking a child whether or not they wanted to sit on my lap or stand next to me and let them decide, and
Yeah.
not automatically assume that everybody's going to sit on my knee or anything like that too, because again, you want to maintain that comfort level and stuff like that too. So
Well, situational awareness is it's we talk about being with the child, but I've had situations where you'll get an idea what's happening with the child from the parents going. In other words, if you can hear a parent yelling and screaming at the kids, stand up, do this, follow instructions, that child's going to be irritated. You know what I mean? Your awareness of the parent's behavior is going to affect the child's behavior. It's kind of like one of those. I mean, oh my gosh, I had a parent one time, I could hear her complaining and I'm trying to watch the child. And her whole gig was that parent wanted that child to apologize to me for their bad behavior. And I said, you don't need to apologize to me. I love you. Right. And that's all forgiven. And the mom wouldn't let it go. So I literally had to stop the mom. So then I could really be, there for the child and encouraging in him, and then let him know that Santa loves him, and so you got to be aware of the parent along, and that's coming along with it too, so.
But that key phrase you just said, telling the child or just telling an individual that Santa loves them has such a strong impact, because oftentimes some of the people that we do see never really get a chance to hear that.
Oh, I had a child, this was last season, walking by my seat where I was at, and the line was really slow, right? In other words, it happens every once in a while. You get a gift from God kind of thing, right? And so, but his countenance on his face was you could just see something was wrong. And I just said this to the child as he was walking, and went, sometimes a hug can help. That's all what I said. And he looked at me and he ran up and he literally wept on my shoulder. So it was just, that hug, and he was dealing with something. And all I said was, sometimes a hug can help. And then he got done and he goes, thanks, Santa, and walked away. And that was it. That wasn't but there was being aware of the countenance on that child, and then giving that child the opportunity to what he wanted to do and how he wanted to let it go. I consider that a providence moment, for that child.
So, Michael, why don't we go run the videos for our contributors so we don't forget them, because they're important.
Yes,
and then we can address some of the comments that we have in the chat right now. Okay.
Awesome. All right, here we go.
Awesome.
Are you going crazy managing clients, contracts, and invoices? Kringle Tracker is here to help you. Stay organized with ease. Keep your sanity in check with Kringle Tracker's intuitive tools to effectively manage your schedule and clients. Our seamless, customizable contract system allows you to tailor your contracts to you and your clients' needs. Prepare for tax time like a pro by tracking your income and expenses, and generate reports to make it a breeze. Transform your Claws business by signing up for a free 20-day trial. Kringle Tracker was created by a Claws for the Claws community, so you can focus on making magical memories for your clients. Head over to kringletracker.com and sign up for your free trial today.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey, we're back. Sorry, Stacy, we do not have the dancing hot dogs like at the drive-in.
What?
Don't you ever remember going to the drive-in? It was an intermission, and you had 6 minutes to the movie, and they would have that dancing hot dog that would do flips and then land into the bun.
I've never seen a dancing hot dog. I've seen a dancing polar bear with Gorda.
Well, then you also missed a dancing gingerbread man too, because that was me as well. But
I wish people could see that. Well, all right, another episode.
Maybe before the season's done with here, the Goiter the polar bear will make a appearance, as well as, there you go, Russell. Let's all go down to the lobby. Anyway,
all
Michael
right, back
Connor,
to comments. Let's
Mike Connor made a good point here, and one of the things that he mentioned, and this goes for any Christmas performer, that even if you're an elf or you're a Grinch or Max the dog, a reindeer,
Or Goiter, the polar bear,
if you're
yeah.
working, or a polar bear with a goiter, if you're working with the same group of people, or even if you're not, develop hand signals, some type of signs, not only to make aware that there's a situation happening, but maybe because there's also a VIP that's coming up that the client wants to make an exception for. I know working at the lodge, whenever there's like a huge influencer coming up or somebody who was very important when it came to like social media,
Right.
my handler would always come up and touch their nose as they were coming up. And I knew at that point, go big. And then what Mike says here is basically he noticed a gentleman taking pictures of children while they were waiting in line, and he gave a hand signal. They were able to get his picture on someone's phone, was able to actually send that to mall security so they can actually go ahead and take care of that. And then Russell was like going back to like some of them ladies, especially those Christmas performers who go into nursing homes.
Oh my!
They can get a little grabby.
Those little old ladies. Oh my! And I'll say, now remember, stop it. Don't make Santa put you on the naughty list. With some of those little ladies in the nursing home. Oh my! Do I have some stories for them?
I am. But even too is, as Sue points out too, is when you're doing an event, even if be it that it's during the Christmas season, and now that the Christmas in July aspects are becoming so much more, you do have to also realize weather. I mean, say you're doing a picnic out in a park, it's a birthday party for Christmas in July. All of a sudden, a tornado moves in. Do you know where to report to? Do you know what to do? Do you know how to make sure everybody's going to be safe? Not only your guests, but actually you yourself.
Yeah.
Or driving, as most of us do so much driving during the winter. And it goes back to what we talked about a few weeks ago with our emergency kits. Understanding the weather, what could be happening, to know, hey, there's a possibility that there could be a blizzard. There could be something that could take me off the road. So again,
how would you encourage somebody to develop better situational awareness? Do you have any hints or anything that you would go, let me encourage you, on developing it? How would you manage that, Michael?
Well, I guess, I mean, for me, there's two different avenues. One is the before the performance, and that is basically doing all your homework. Familiarize yourself with the venue. I always try to get in at least an hour and a half before I'm supposed to go on, if possible, just so I can take a look around and make sure before the guests actually arrive that I know the ins and outs of everything that could be put into place. I also like to identify any emergency exits and or emergency first aid stations, which also include a defibrillator, as many locations now are getting those defibrillators. Now, during a performance, again, I always try to stay alert. I always try to make sure I keep my audience in mind and look for different items. A lot of our Santa community that's on with us already pointed out, visual cues coming from our guests, from the children, from the adults. We also look from a safety perspective as well. We also want to make sure that we can actually be able, in case we have technical issues, flow with it. And as you said, maintain flexibility.
Yeah. So I would encourage somebody to go, we're not expecting anybody to be perfect. And I know sometimes what happens is when you a lot of it's common sense, which sometimes doesn't seem very common to some, but it's one of those, don't expect perfection out of yourself. I would encourage somebody, you know what I mean? But you prep and you work on the best way that you possibly can be Santa, and realize a lot of the emergencies and situations are just that, emergencies. They're accidents, things that you don't plan on every day, you know what I mean? But you want to make sure that you're prepared and prepped, the best of your ability, you know what I mean? So give yourself some grace, take a big breath. You don't have to have it all done at once. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be the best you that you possibly can be.
And as you rehearse, as you practice, always throw in different elements that could actually maybe put a roadblock up for you, just so you can actually practice on how to get along with them. But one of the other keys that I would suggest, and Stacy actually indicated this as well in the chat, and that's this: journal. When you're finished with a performance, when you're finished with a visit, write down in a journal, or write down. We all have our phones that you can take notes on and different things like
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
And then this way you'll be prepared. And again, Charlie said, learn to be an improviser. One of the funniest stories I've ever had from a virtual standpoint is, as a child challenged me to say, Santa, how do you get the internet at the North Pole?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
I had no idea where I was going with this, but just something just lit off in my brain. And I said, well, do you know about the aurora borealis? The northern lights. Well, do you know, because of the magnetic pulses that run through them, they sing? But one of the things that the elves discovered, they're also good conduits for the internet. And so I not only get really good Wi-Fi up here at the North Pole, it's free.
Yeah.
That stuck with me. That actually is now carried over, because it was something that was so off key, but it's plausible, that it now has a home within my performance if ever I'm challenged with that again.
Yeah.
So again, journal, write things down, pay attention to your environment, pay attention to your audience, and pay attention to the elements surrounding you.
Yeah, and I've had situations where, like, here's a hard situation that came up, from a parent or whatever, AKA a child came up with me, saying, I'd like one more year. Of course, your heart drops, right? Well, I find out in the conversation with the child who did that request to me that it wasn't for him. It was for the grandfather that was standing behind him, had cancer, and wasn't expected to live past Christmas. And so when I then looked at the grandfather and just said, oh, grandfather, you're very lucky to be loved like this. And then the grandfather was a little upset that I now knew that he had cancer. And so he made a comment to me like, be careful, Santa, you might be going over HIPAA laws. But it was the child that just told that to me, right? So, and I just encouraged the dad to, the grandpa and the child. And when they got done in the conversation, they walked away hand in hand, and you could see they were loving each other. But I told my manager, all right, here's what was said. Here's what happened. I just want you to be aware of it. You know what I mean? And then I asked the manager, I said, did I handle that correctly for you? Because ultimately I'm working for them. So making sure that you have that working relationship to those who are in charge of wherever you're at. And if something comes up, communicate with them. Don't just keep it to yourself. Immediately go share that information, be accountable with it. And so that way, because they're the one that's going to have to handle the cleanup if there's going to be something. And so I'll say that phrase, did I handle that the way you wanted? And they've been always honest with me. Well, we would have preferred this. All right, next time I'll do it that way. So, and always in a learning, being able to be teachable in all situations.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many different things, but I think the key point that I think Michael and I wanted to try to get to, make sure each and every one of us understands, is your job is not just to sit there and stay zoned in on what you're doing. Understand the whole area around you, so you can always be prepared to come up with something or to be able to react quickly to anything. So I think that's one of the most important things that we wanted to discuss. Now, you know what time it is now, Michael?
Oh, the quiz time.
It is time for the quiz time.
I get talking to you that I forget some things. I got to look in my notes more often.
That's okay. That's why we support here. So right now we're going to go ahead and get ready. Now,
all right. You want me to read it? This is a fun. I thought this was fun.
You could go ahead and read it. I'm going to get ready to put it on the screen. So you go ahead.
All right, I'll let you do it. 3. All right, everyone ready?
Go ahead and read it. Go ahead and read it first.
All right. I'll put it on the screen and read it.
Okay.
According to Perry Como, what can't you beat for the holidays?
Now remember,
and then I'll give them a hint. It's not an egg. Dad joke. I couldn't resist. Beat an egg. That's not the answer, though. Just to let you know.
Oh well, we already got an answer.
Oh wait, that fast?
That fast. I believe. Yeah. Well.
Well,
yes.
No. I don't know. Are you thinking Big Red's response?
Yes. because
Well,
it is. It is.
if we're going by the song, should we? All right, we can take it, I
Yeah,
guess.
we'll take that one then because
All right,
again,
let me put up the
okay,
answer.
the answer is
According to
Home
Perry Como,
Sweet
what
Home.
can't you beat for the holidays? Home Sweet Home.
And yeah, oh well, Don Sullivan had a good one too. Time. Zinga Claus was Home Sweet Home, and Bruce Nord was Beat. No, that was for the egg, Bruce.
What's the yes? What a yoke!
And this is what happens when we do dad jokes. But no,
I told my daughter today. My daughter's up visiting her mother, right, because of the surgery, and I took her to the store, right, and so we're driving by the cemetery, and I just looked at my daughter and I went, "Can you believe our county just paid $135,000 to put a fence around this cemetery?" She goes, "What?" I go, "That was way too much money." "Well, why'd they do that, Dad?" I said, "Because people are dying to get in." She just said, "Oh."
oh my goodness.
All right, I got my new dad joke from that I
You
did on
got
my
your new
daughter
dad
today.
joke? All right, so that's good. I'm just
Hey, I got a
answering
ha from Boris.
Well, Bob Smith's name is going to be entered into the hat to possibly win an opportunity to attend North Pole Cornerstones in
Yeah,
2025.
his scholarship. This is
It's a
awesome.
scholarship. So, Bob, good luck to you. We'll see what happens. But this also means that Bob is now basically put on the sidelines for the trivia and will not be available again until September 14th.
And awesome. Well, you know what? Since we're getting closer to the end of this, and we're talking about things, I want to throw this out. It's been this first season. We still have, more Wednesdays that we're going to come and share and talk. But we'd love your feedback. In other words, our what we're saying, we're doing okay. Would you like a second season? Do you want us to prep and do this again next year? Do you want us to keep going? I haven't even told this to Bob or Scott, kind of thing, but we'd love your feedback, and I want to make myself vulnerable to the point going, what are we doing well? And what could we do a little bit better? All right. And is this format the way we're working it this year? Is this good? Is it meeting the need? Do you feel like, and then giving us some suggestions? I'm up for, I'm up for being learning and growing and sharing, because I realize that this isn't necessarily, my best practice at what I'm doing. But I love sharing. So please send us, your comments. Let us know if you'd like us to keep working on this and content for you and making things for you and sharing things. And for me, it's just making myself vulnerable. I love Brene Brown's The Power of Vulnerability. That's when Stephen Gillum shared that with me, wow, that was a life changer gig for me in my performance, and not just my performance as Santa, but I think it was a life changing a little bit of who I am in general too, and moved my heart. So thank you, Miss Deb, for keeping Stephen on the up and arrow. Right.
And we always remember too, you can like us and follow us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube.
And sharing is caring.
Share, subscribe, click that little notify button, because you know what? That's way you'll be alerted as to when we go live, or that way you'll never miss a show. But remember, you can always come back through Facebook or through YouTube and rewatch the show. And again, just let us know what you feel and what you would like us to say or talk about, because there's a lot that's out there.
I feel bad. One of the things that I wanted to do, and we still have to somehow manage this. I mean, I can't believe that it's August. We're talking August. We're talking Red Suit Conclave.
Yeah, that's this weekend.
We're September, and my photo shoots are, and work is starting. It's like one of those, I'm just so glad that I prepped early for story times, and yeah, that's another, but it's there. So I want to make sure that I'm so well prepared that I can handle the situation and be flexible and mobile. Right. Yeah. So.
Oh, wow, we got a lot of stuff going on here really quickly here. Boris was saying he was driving and literally laughed out loud at your joke.
Thank you, Boris. I'll work out another one for you.
Tammy Weaver said yes to more seasons along with Oliver. Jenny Kringle is like yes to a second season. Jerry Keel was like, see you there, Charlie. We're talking about Red Suit Conclave here in Michigan. Again, if you're in
Enjoyed the
Michigan,
broadcast. Yeah.
don't come up to Saginaw and say hi to us Saturday and Sunday. Let's see. Bruce Nord was like, oh my, yes, keep going, brothers. Love the sharing time. Randall Santa Checker Lee was yes to a second season. Boris, more dad yokes.
Yes, and
Even
look,
now
your
he's starting to
lovely
get on the
says it's-
puns.
And your lovely says it's fun, engaging, and educational.
She
Yes.
always uses so many big words like you
Well,
do.
I love it. And you know what? She says that she'd love a second season. So I mean, when your wife says that she'd like you to keep working on it, that at least to me, that's a trigger that you must be balancing things at home well with Miss Stacy. Because she's so awesome.
She is awesome.
She's very important in the state of Michigan. She's like a queen.
She is. She is the International Modern Miss Queen for the United International Elite Pageant System. But you know what? Deb Gillum says, you're welcome, Michael. She does have a big job, not only to keep Steve in check, but to also make sure that we stay in check.
I was talking to them the other day, and Steve made a comment. We're talking about pounds per pressure on my knee because they know that my knee is bad, right? And of course, Miss Deb had one procedure, and Steven had another quote, and I said, Steven, it doesn't matter. Basically, in a sense, if you're right or wrong, when you're all done by the end of the night, you just say, Miss Deb, yep, I think you were right. That's the best way to keep things happy before you go to bed. Yeah, honey, I think you were right. I always teased Linda. I said, when we first got married, I told my wife, that she could do whatever she wanted to do. And that, my wife is in perfect submission because that's exactly what she's been doing ever since. Whatever she wants to do. So be careful how you articulate it.
I'm just going to see if there's any more comments here. Charlie was like, I love when the kids wear shirts with their favorite things on them, like dinosaurs with Christmas lights.
Oh yeah, because then you can play off that, and you can do your little.
Oftentimes I get asked, when I see a child with a dinosaur shirt on, I said, "So is that your favorite dinosaur? Is that your favorite dinosaur?"
T-Rex.
Yes. Well, do you know where my favorite dinosaur is? It's the T-Rex, and do you know why? Because they have little arms and dance just like this. And they get a little chug. I want to try to look like the gopher from Caddyshack.
Yeah, that's too
but
funny.
Again, we also have
I didn't think about that. You are moving like the gopher.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going for. I'm all right. No need to worry about me. Okay, that's about as much Kenny Loggins as I'm going to get here.
Next dance. How do you do with the Macarena?
Well, that's the reindeer Macarena.
Yeah,
Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen,
Comet, Cupid,
Donner, Blitzen, Rudolph.
Yes. Happy spouse, happy house.
Exactly. Bill Gorbett says, yes, a second scene would be fantastic. I already used some of the things you two have talked about. Well, that's good, Bill.
Ooh, that's encouraging. That's very encouraging. Thank you. And Jason said hi, to the big boys.
Yeah. And then Santa Scott, thank you both.
The brothers, could we go by the Girth brothers?
Well, now, if you're going to say the big boys, we're going to have somebody make us the overalls from Elias Brothers.
Oh no, yeah, I don't want
that.
I do like overhauls though. They're very comfortable.
After I lost a bunch of weight, it did before I looked like some kind of weird sausage being stuck into a pair of overalls. It wasn't a pretty sight. But Boris says he danced a Macarena as Stitch the other day, and the best is parties with kids wearing name tags. Santa knows everyone. Hey, and Jeff Warrens was like, hello from Toledo. Yeah. Well, folks, it's been so much fun to actually bring you all this information to you. We do want to be cautious and care of your time. Yes, and let's see, do we have what's our show for next week? Do you know?
I forgot to write it down what section we were on. So next week we're going to have a great show. Are
we doing beard care next week?
Well, I know we discussed about beard care with it because I thought it would be great for everybody to see how you do the crepe hair stuff that you fill into these smaller patches because you know what, you can do that techniques to
to fluff
it up and tape it, and
we can play with that. But Stay tuned. We always send out a reminder to what the show is going to be. And as always,
Blessings, everyone, and may your life be filled with encouragement, laughter, and fellowship.
and may you find the magic in every smile you inspire, and always live with a heart full of Christmas. And yes, Paul, we will try to maybe recap some of the conclave on next week's show.
That sounds great. Blessings, everybody. Thank you so much
Blessings.
for watching. We really appreciate you all. Hey, there's still some people watching.
Do you know what's so funny is
What?
every time we do a video and you have the cool music, I sit here and dance. Well, I'm doing one move, but I
Yeah.
have Facebook up on another screen and I'm watching a previous video we did, and my dancing wasn't the same as the video I was watching. I forgot I was watching last week's.
Well, hey, there was Santa Claus,
Yes.
a politician, right? The president, right? A priest, and two elves. Santa, president, priest, and two elves. They all walk into a bar together. You know what they talk about?
Mrs. Claus?
No, Kringle time with the Kringle brothers. They love watching the show.
And we love bringing it to them. And again, even the Rooftop Santa said, great show. And Santa Scott, always awesome job as always. Santa Kevin, great show. And then Boris, yes, Boris, there's always a post-credit scene. We do love our Deadpool. Just wait till we get the bye-bye dance down.
Night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.